All right, welcome back, everybody. Different point of view. I'm Destri Millsap, along with my co-host Becky Pearson. And if you're just joining us, I'm an athletic trainer. Becky is a physical therapist, and we pride ourselves in helping people find the straight line to feeling their best and performing at their best. So today we're going to talk about something that's probably a little bit controversial. There's a lot of information out there, and it's the wild, wild west. And I'm talking about peptides right now. And man, there's a lot of different peptides and there's a lot of different information out there. Good information, bad information. We're going to talk about it all today and try to find something that will fit your needs. But it is one of those things, if used in the correct way and sourced in the correct way, man, it can be a game changer for your recovery and your fitness and health goals. And with us to talk about that is Maggie Lamle. She's the one that kind of finally found a good, safe source of peptides. I've been looking for them for a long time, and man, just couldn't figure out where to get them. And I think that's also a lot of people's challenges. Many of you that heard about them, they don't know where to get them, don't know enough about them, and so we're gonna dive in and talk about all that today. So Maggie, thank you for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name's Maggie Lamle. Like you said, I have been an ER trauma nurse for 16 years. I kind of joined the functional health field about 5 years ago. I'm an integrative genetic specialist. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a rancher. Um, really got into peptides probably about 7, 8 months ago. We just knew that this was a tool that we could use to just skyrocket our clients' performance, healing, repair, longevity, everything. So, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And it's been a pretty common thing in some circles like the weightlifting and some of those circles like that. But for some reason it's just now breaking out on the mainstream. And so tell us, you're a nurse, right? And so you're right in there in the thick of things, in the medical profession. And I think that's one of the things that made me feel the best about you telling me where you were getting yours and educating me more about the different peptides. Because man, I'll be honest with you, a lot of the opinions that I had of certain ones was pretty negative because of what's out there right now. And so, yeah, tell us about how you got turned on to that and how you got hooked up with the ones that you have now.
So, we work with elite athletes, and actually had some clients using peptides. So peptides, before we start, are short chain amino acids, little guys that go in and signal the body to do what it's always meant to do. As we age, those signals just kind of die off, and so. Um, I work with a lot of women 35 plus, men 35 plus, and we start to have those signs of aging. And that's where, just working out, nutrition, and, doing what you think are all the right things just aren't quite enough. And so we needed that edge. And that's where peptides came in. Um, they are just a bioidentical peptide that goes in, signals the body to do what it's meant to do. So it just goes in and just triggers your body to do what it knows how to do already. So we're not blocking any pathways. We're not tricking your body into doing anything. We're just telling it what it used to do. But like you said, there's a lot of different places you can get peptides. It is what I call the Wild West. And so we did a lot of research. I'm a research hound. Looked for a reputable, safe, um, 503A compounding pharmacy, telehealth network, practitioners who specialize in peptide therapy. That those all three of those things were very, very important when we decided that we were going to add peptides, because we don't want to put anything in our bodies that we wouldn't, do ourselves, right? We don't want to get anybody else something that we wouldn't do ourselves. And there are a lot of peptides out there that are not considered safe, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's just super important. But we found a company that just really does it right and provides the highest quality care and peptides.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your story with peptides. Like, tell us where you were a year ago before peptides and now where you are after being on peptides.
Right, right. So I'm also a personal trainer. Like I said, I do the genetics. I was doing all the right things. I was taking the supplements. I was working out. I was eating right. Was not reaching my goals. Everything that was working before stopped working. That is when I decided to start looking, inside cellular level. I actually the first thing that I ever tried was NAD. And, I had great results with that. As we age, our NAD levels drop. That is the powerhouse for the cell, for the mitochondria in the cell. That works great. That led us on to, I was having a lot of pain. And as an athletic trainer, I'm working out every day. I had chronic pain in my shoulders. I've had orthopedic surgeries on my shoulders, my hands, my knees. Um, Pain was a big issue. So I wasn't reaching my goals. I was having the pain. It just wasn't working. And so I looked into the BPC 157 at TB 500 first. Um, Fantastic for my recovery, fantastic for the repair, fantastic for the pain. Um, Helped with a lot of the inflammation. I was able to work out more. I recovered faster. I had less pain. And then I got onto what we call a microdose of a GLP GIP. And these are, yes, the ones you're thinking of. These are similar to the Ozempics and the Monjoros and things like that. But this is what we call a microdose, which means this is not a weight loss dose. It's 2.5 milligrams or less. It is a once a week injection. It is geared more towards inflammation, um, metabolic, kind of that metabolic reset. It helps us with insulin stability, blood sugar stability, helps with fat loss, of course. Huge, huge cognitive benefits as far as for my story. I struggle with addictive tendencies. I struggle with obsessive eating habits. I would wake up in the morning and think about food nonstop, like nonstop all day. I actually didn't realize quite how bad it was until I took my first dose. And within, I'd say probably 3 days, it was like a switch had been shut off in my brain and I was not obsessing about food. It's hard to explain to someone who doesn't have that addictive tendency, but it is like when you wake up in the morning you are craving whatever it is that you want. It's the same with alcoholics. It's the same with drug addicts. It's that part of your brain that just is always back there, and so what I tell people is that if there was anything that I mean, if the microdose of the GLP GIP didn't do anything else but shut off that food noise, I would pay for it 1,000 times because it has been like a weight lifted off of my shoulders. Um, it has allowed me to kind of break through that that stubborn belly fat that I couldn't get rid of, the fat in my thighs, that just the stuff that I just couldn't. It didn't matter how hard I worked out, it didn't matter what I ate. But it just kind of helped me got rid of that inflammation. I didn't realize how inflamed I was until I saw pictures of me this time last year and this year, and it's like wow. But just a game changer. I've also used the ipamorelin, tesamorelin. Those are the growth hormone releasing hormone peptides. They help stimulate your body to release that natural growth hormone. Fantastic for the muscle mass recovery, um, energy. My energy has just been next level. Sleep. Yeah, just all good things. They are a game changer for me personally in many aspects.
And I think that that's something that people don't realize is just, with what's in our food and how things and the stress of our lives and things like that, just how the body will just hold on to inflammation and it's hard to get rid of it. And so that's what I really love about. So I'm on BBC 157, TB 500, the Wolverine stack, and man, if anything, I got on it for my gut health because I knew that was an issue, and that kind of leads to other problems. I mean, obviously, I've had knee surgery, I've had shoulder surgery, and I want to keep them good. I'm not 20 anymore, so I wanted to give my body some help there too, and just see what it's all about. And man, I've it really, really has helped me just with my focus and things like that because I don't have the brain fog anymore because my gut health is so much better, and I don't really like, it's just like you said, you do all the right things and you just don't see results. Like there was just something missing. There was something causing that inflammation that just you couldn't get under control. And then from a pain perspective, you look at like the pain pills and all the information that's out there about ibuprofen and Tylenol, and how it's so hard on your gut, when this decreases inflammation, promotes tissue healing, and heals your gut, which I think it all goes together. And it's a naturally occurring thing in your body. You touched on that as well. And that's another reason that I really like them, is because you're not putting something foreign in your body. It's just a signal caller telling it to turn on and wake up because you got older, and now we need a little bit of health healing. So, from a recovery perspective, it is an absolute game changer. And I've seen a ton of great results from the post-op perspective and just injuries in general on people getting back faster because that tissue is able to repair itself. It keeps the inflammation down, and they're just, I mean, just knocking out their rehabs like none other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna play the dummy on here because I'm good at that part. Okay. So if I have never heard of peptides before, and I'm wondering how in the heck can these things really decrease that inflammation? How does it work in the body? Can we kind of keep that at a really simple level? It's my understanding, like with the GLPs, like we're controlling our blood sugar levels. Is that
Mhm.
is that right?
Yeah.
And is that what helps keep the inflammation down too? If we don't have high circulating blood sugars, then we're gonna keep that inflammation down. Tell me if you can answer those. Yeah.
So what they do, so these are bioidentical. So when a peptide goes in, it's literally identical to the signals that our body produces. So it's going to go in and it's going to tell that cell what it needs to do. Now, if our body is inflamed, of course, as we all know, those signals are not getting in and out because that cell is just basically trying to survive, right? It's just trying to do its basic functions. Um, and get through the day. I mean, it doesn't care. And like Destry said, the diet that we have in this day and age, the quality of the food, the things we're exposed to. I mean, we're constantly being bombarded with inflammatory things, toxins, whatever you want to call them. So what these do, and as we age, our hormones change, our bodies, we're more inflammatory as we age. And so when we can go in and we give that cell the tools, so I'm trying to keep it super simple. That peptide goes in, signals that cell, gives that cell the tools that it needs to function. It is able to function appropriately. And so then it will start, for lack of, going off the deep end, basically it just goes in and starts functioning like it's meant to. And so it starts performing like it's meant to. And then it will start, like you said, regulating the blood sugar, helping with the insulin. So when we're regulating the blood sugar, we're not getting large amounts of insulin coming in, and the blood sugar's not going up and down, and we're not on that sugar roller coaster all day, where we get the cravings and the crazy feelings and all that stuff. Same with healing. When we go in there, we give those cells the tools they need to heal, to repair, to recover, to form new blood cells. That the angiogenesis that the TB500 helps with. We're just giving them the tools they need to function, like they should. Because when we were younger, we didn't have all these problems, right? Most of us, we were healthy, happy, we slept, we ate, we did what we wanted, we were skinny, fit, strong, all the things. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, that
Okay.
a lot for sure. And so then, I mean, basically each one functions a little different in the
Mhm.
body, but
Mhm.
it's depending on what our goals are, really depends on which compounded peptide gets prescribed for us, right?
Yeah, there is literally there. I tell people there's a peptide for everything. And a lot of peptides are what we call pleiotropic, which means they work on multiple pathways. So they have multiple different downstream effects. And some of them have similar effects. But it just makes them so useful for so many different things.
Yeah. And so me being a aging woman, 52-year-old woman, and yes, so my things are, yeah, the hormones are decreasing as I'm getting older. The belly fat is getting worse. The energy level, the brain fog, all of that is a huge problem. And we hear these stories time and time again from women. I just was on the phone yesterday with a gal that, she has musculoskeletal issues, she has hormone issues, she has a ton of things going on.
Mhm.
If someone were to say, okay, this does kind of sound like me, what is the best route for them to kind of learn more or get started investigating into this a little bit more?
So, well, the company we work with, provides lots of different information, lots of Zooms, lots of educational videos. But what I usually recommend is just trying to find either a practitioner or a telehealth company that specializes in pharmaceutical grade 503A compounded peptides. That's where you want to start, because all peptides are not created equal. And it is very, very important that you get peptides from people who know what they're doing. Um, Peptides are very finicky little creatures. And if they're even not compounded appropriately, number one, they can be damaged and then they're no good. Two, if they're not done, if they're not done sterile and appropriate, you don't know what you're getting. So I would say finding someone who is well versed in peptide therapies, and that's not somebody that's on the internet, that is not. I always want to make sure that there's a practitioner that I am talking to, number one, who knows peptides. Two, they're coming from a 503A compounding pharmacy. And yeah, I mean, that's where I would start. And then they should be able to provide you with information and accurate, legit information.
And so patients or people that this is really helpful for, that you guys have seen the most success with, the aging woman,
Okay.
okay, post-surgical people that are having needing better recovery after an injury or an accident or surgery, right?
Yep.
Aging men, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Somebody needing more energy, less brain fog. Is that?
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Um,
what else am I missing? What other?
so a big group. When we look at health and wellness, a lot of times the main kind of lever that we have, and Honey Cigar touches on this, but the main lever is usually a lot of times obesity or being overweight, because that is usually where a lot of issues start. The inflammation is usually out of control when we're overweight. We're going to have more increased pain. Because we're inflamed, we're not going to be healing well. We're not going to be recovering well. We're going to have cardiovascular issues. We're going to have metabolic issues probably. So that's a big one too. I work with a lot of people who struggle with weight, and that is a big lever that we can pull first, and that's something that we can address to help get them moving. Because, I think I've talked to Destri about, when somebody's overweight, it can be painful for them. They can be at a point where they're not physically able to be, to go out and do these things. So our number one goal for those people is to get that fat off, get that inflammation under control, get that metabolism leveled out. Then we can start looking at, movement and all of these other things. So that's one of those big levers that a lot of people overlook, but is huge and has tons of effects once we can address that. But yes, the older women, peri and postmenopausal, premenopausal, I mean, anybody over 35, basically, I swear the wheels start falling off about 35, man or woman. Those, like you said, the injuries, the post-ops, even women and men who have trouble with hair loss or skin or things like that. I mean, like you said, energy, sleep. We even have some stuff like detoxing type stuff, the master antioxidant glutathione, which is a great one for everyone. especially in this day and age with all of the, like we talked about, the foods that, the foods and all the things we get bombarded with. Glutathione's huge for that. But yeah, you hit most of them.
Okay. And then one of the other things that's kind of coming to mind is, okay, somebody's listened to this and they've heard about somebody being on Ozempic, and they've heard, a horror story from somebody being on semaglutide. That was me. I had a friend that went on semaglutide and had to go to the emergency room. And so, like, it's scary to think about that stuff. And so tell me, what would be the advantage of doing the microdosing on the GLP-1s versus like a semaglutide or Ozempic or something like that?
Okay. So there is a key thing here that I'm going to hit on first before I do the microdosing, and that is market brands versus compounded. So your Ozempics, your Monjoros, all of those that are usually covered by insurance, that are the big name brands that we all talk about, number one, are not custom made. I believe healthcare should be custom because we're not the same, right? With these market brands, they come in at whatever dose you are prescribed. There is a custom pre-made dose. These are made in large amounts. They're not small batch tested. They also are made in large batches where they use preservatives. And as we know, over time, those preservatives and things that are in there can cause the opposite of what we want. That's going to cause an inflammatory response as we go. So market brands are not to say you won't have good results, not to say they don't work, but they are usually overdosed because there's only a certain, it goes 5, 10, 15 or whatever, it goes, they're not custom to the person. And so it sounds like, like your friend potentially got a dose that was way too high for him or her, and had horrible side effects. And that is not uncommon at all, because a lot of times too, with these generic or with these market brands, the doctors prescribing are not well versed in peptides. They know that you can lose weight, and they know that they help with type 2 diabetes. But that's about the extent of it. And I'm not trying to badmouth doctors. I've worked with wonderful doctors. There's just a lot of misuse and kind of overdosing of those generics. Now, compared to compounded GLPs and GIPs, this is where the dose is made specifically for the patient. They take into consideration what your goals are, how much you weigh, what you're trying to accomplish, why you're taking it. And then that dose is made specifically for that person. And so it is a lot more controlled. There's a lot less side effects. They also usually, when they come from a compounding pharmacy, you're working directly with a practitioner that specializes in peptides. So they are able to communicate. How are you feeling? Are you having the nausea? Is it completely knocked out your appetite? Because that's not what we want. We want you in a calorie deficit. We don't want you starving to death, And so it's custom. And so that's a big difference between the generic and the compounded. Now, there is another one that the company that I'm partnered with actually is one of the only ones that does these microdosing. And microdosing is actually a dose that's not considered a weight loss dose. That's not to say you won't lose weight with it. I've had a lot of people who've lost weight with it, but it's more for the metabolic reset. It's more for the inflammation, the cognitive stuff. This is a dose that we use a lot with drug addicts for the cognitive effects. This is a long-term thing that we can do just to help us. I mean, the cardiovascular benefits, again, the metabolic benefits, it is so many. I could go on and on about the benefits of microdosing a GLP-1. But yeah, so that, and these microdoses usually coming from a compounding pharmacy. And so again, custom to the patient based on what their needs are. So that's kind of, did that kind of hit on what you were asking? Okay.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that what really appeals to me about it is that it isn't such a life-altering dosage, if you'd say, like, so then it allows you to learn the lifestyle changes that you need to. You know, we've talked a lot on here about making sure that we, especially as aging women, are lifting weights and that we're getting a lot of protein in our diets. And so to me, it's a nice way to like gradually make those changes in your diet and your lifestyle while you're getting a little help from a compounded medicine, but it's not such a, you know, take you over the edge of the cliff type of a thing.
Right, right. This is the one. So I use this a lot with my gals, that, have that extra 10 or 15 pounds that they just can't shake. They've tried it all, or the ones that are struggling with like they just have that inflammation, and they're fluffy, and their hormones are out wacky, and going on, but something has taken over their body and they don't know what it is. And so that's a really good one. But that microdose is very good for that. They don't need the weight loss dose. They don't need the higher dose. They just need that. I kind of call it that kind of kick in the butt, or that, as we age, our metabolism just kind of tanks, and we've been told all our lives, eat less, work out more, and we'll just get skinny. That's not how it works. We know that, but they just need that metabolic reset, that little kick in the butt to get the metabolism back to where it needs to be. And so that this is perfect for that. And like you said, it's low side effects, usually very well tolerated, good long term, and just gobs of research on the benefits of longevity, and just long term health.
Yeah, and you mentioned semaglutide, but there's also tirzepatide too, and
Mhm.
and I didn't know much about that at the time, but you see all these people who it's more than just weight loss. I mean, with the gut health and the inflammation, and then the chronic illness that is kind of just these mystery illnesses that come up out of nowhere. No one can figure out why you're feeling this way. Why is this system disrupted? And then educating, researching, and finding out how tirzepatide is changing those people's lives as well has just been absolutely eye-opening and incredible. But again, just such a bad rap because of the misinformation out there, and then like people overdosing it,
Mhm.
and then that's scaring off other people. Or another thing is they don't make those changes that you're talking about, those lifestyle changes when they're
Right.
on. It's not a magic bullet by any means. Like if you're on the stuff, you have to eat protein, you have to work out to maintain that muscle mass. We talked about it a few weeks ago or a month ago or something on here about how important it is as you age, especially, but as an athlete, just in general, but especially as you age, how important it is to maintain muscle mass and strength because that's gonna be one of the first things to go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. When even if I'm training a client who's not on a GLP-1 at all, I put them in a calorie deficit, they're at risk for losing muscle mass, because when you are in a deficit, you're going to lose some fat and you're going to lose some muscle. And so it's super important that I require, I say this, and I don't all do it, but in our protocol, I want you getting zero point 0.8 to a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. A lot of times it's body weight, because I know they're probably going to fall short. And so I will put them there, and I want them doing strength training at least 3 times a week, at least. Um, so important, especially in aging adults, because, we're losing that muscle mass every year. Just naturally. And I also, recommend a good quality creatine, um, just because it's going to help support that muscle mass, and so yeah, it is, and that is another great point that I'll tell you from experience. I worked in an ER. I saw what the overdosing and misusing of GIPs has done. And these people had no idea that they should have been working out, and they should have been eating this much protein, and they should have been, doing all of these supportive things. They just thought they were going to take a shot and be out, good to go. Um, and so, yeah, it makes a huge difference. But yeah.
Definitely. So, um, talk about talk a little bit about the process of the company that you use with, it's physician based. It's a telehealth concierge company. It's physician based. All the physicians sign off on the intake form. Then it's sent to a compounding pharmacy. They send you everything you need from there. Talk about that process.
Yeah. So basically, I'm just a professional pointer. So what I do is if I have somebody who reaches out to me who's having an issue, and let's say maybe it's pain, or joint pain, or they are going to have a surgery and they want to recover fast because they've got some rodeo finals they want to be at or whatever. So I would recommend the BPC 157 TB 500. And so what I would do, I send them a concierge telehealth link. They can go in, they will create an account, they will fill out a telehealth assessment specifically for the peptide that they clicked on. So in this case, it would be the BPC 157 TB 500. And so they will go in, they will answer these questions. These are very specific, targeted questions. These questions will be reviewed by a practitioner who specializes in peptide therapies. If there are questions in there. If it triggers any contraindication, they will not be approved for the peptide. We're not going to, this company is not going to approve anybody for something that's going to potentially harm them. Now, I will say peptides are relatively safe. BPC 157 TB 500 is a widely used peptide that is very safe for the most part. But anyway, they will approve you or deny you. If you are approved, an order for a prescription is sent to a 503A compounding pharmacy. We have a pharmacy that is specifically for our clients. It's called Clover Pharmacy. That peptide is compounded in a small batch specifically for you. It is third-party tested for purity, safety, potency, all of the things. If it does not meet those requirements, it is trashed and they will make you a new one. This is super important. This was something that we looked at extensively because, I'm not going to represent anything that's not safe and that I wouldn't use on myself. And so very important. Long story short, it's approved, it's tested, it's safe, and it is shipped to your door with all of the supplies that you need, with instructions, all of the things. You also have access through a patient portal to that doctor during the duration of your peptide therapy, which is huge. I could go in right now and I could message my doctor and ask, let's say I, had an injection site reaction or something or whatever. I could go in and ask them. I say, hey, is this normal? They would say yes or no. Or maybe I wasn't tolerating it. Maybe they can adjust the dose. They can do all kinds of things. They can order labs for you if there is something you're concerned about. They can send labs orders to you. You can take it to your nearest lab, have them drawn, sent back to your telehealth doctor. It's a great process. It's very efficient and it works great.
Right.
Might be a question that some people might have, since it is a telemedicine company. Do they take insurance?
They do not. It's all a cash pay. Now you can pay with an FSA or HSA card, but because we don't take insurance, it is just you either can pay all at once or make payments. But yeah, and included in that cost is the peptide, the shipping, the telehealth visit, and then the patient portal access. So it's all included in that price. One price. There's no hidden, fees or anything like that. So
Okay.
Maggie, do you have anything else that you want people to know about peptides or peptide therapy? Benefits, myths, anything like that? We covered a lot.
they are one of the fastest growing tools for health and wellness. And I do believe strongly that peptides are the new way. They're going to be the new way for health, wellness, and longevity in the future, hands down. I've seen both sides of medicine. I've seen sick care and I've seen root cause care. And I know there's a certain place for the healthcare, the surgeries and all that stuff. But I do know that um, looking at why things are happening and treating things at the root, at the cellular level, is where we have to start. And that's peptides do that. And there is nothing else like it. It is relatively, for the most part, safe and it's incredibly effective. And it you're able to customize it. It's personal. Like I said, there's a peptide for everything, and the sky's the limit with peptide therapies, honestly. And it's just it excites me because I have been able to get people results that thought there was no hope, that this is just the way my life is now, that this is aging, that this is, I just am going to have to accept that this is my life now. And I'm like, no, no, that is not the way it is. I got a peptide for that. And so I love to be able to help people and to get these into people's bodies, because when we can get to the root of it, so many other things start happening. It opens so many doors, and people just it is awesome. It is a game changer. Like you said, Destry, at the beginning, is it's just a freaking game changer. Like nothing like it. But I do believe that peptides are the future of health and wellness 100%.
Exactly. And I just think that for people that can't take time off, like they absolutely have to get stuff done. I mean, that's the ranching community, that's the equine industry, that's the rodeo industry, that's everybody that typically we see is they don't have time to take off for a surgery or take a bunch of, be down for a long time. And then if they end up like it has to get fixed, well, they got to get back as quick as they can, but also as safe as they can so it doesn't happen again. And I think that just lines right up with Becky and I's mission just in general with our programming and things of that nature, but also giving your body the fuel and the tools that it needs to repair itself efficiently no matter what age you are. And so I think really for this type of population, it could be a game changer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Our bodies are amazing, amazing. And we don't give our bodies enough credit, but you give that dude what it needs. And I mean, watch me go. Like it's incredible.
And it's not like band-aiding something.
No,
It's not
no,
like, hey, here's your pill for this symptom. Like, no, this is like, let's fix the problem.
right,
Let's get to the root of the cause of what's happening and fix it. It's not like you have to be on them forever.
right, right,
It is just a tool to wake your body up so it can heal itself.
right.
And so if you're somebody who's like on a ton of medication and taking every vitamin under the sun and whatever else, like maybe there's something else out there for you. Maybe you do need to look into peptide therapy and see if that fits you and your needs to where you don't have to take 600 pills that just treat the symptom and probably half of them are contradicting with each other anyway. So
Right, right.
anyway, I think just from that perspective, it gives somebody hope that, hey, maybe there is something else out there for me.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I've dealt with the sick care system, like you said, and all of the medications, and peptides don't go in and block a process. They don't go in and trick your body into doing something. It doesn't go in there and, confuse it or block those receptors or do it. I mean, it just tells your body what it needs to do, and it does it. The body does it. You're not making it do anything. It's wild that what we can do when we signal the body at the cellular level to do what it's meant to do.
Exactly.
I think back to some friends of ours that the husband had said his wife had told him, your body's not deficient in ibuprofen.
Right.
He was taking ibuprofen every day for like shoulder pain or knee pain or something. And she goes, your body's not deficient in that. So like, you're just blocking, you're just covering up. It's just a temporary thing. And so the cool thing about this stuff is, like you said, it is really helping the body recover and do the things it needs to do. It isn't just muting the stuff that's going on too much. It's not just putting a Band-Aid over it. It's
Right.
actually helping you heal. So
Right.
taking ibuprofen like candy, one of these peptides might be for you.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
coffee. Get a little
Right,
baby in your coffee. Maybe let's try something else.
right, right. Gosh.
Not a whole lot of longevity there, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. Mm.
So anyway, all right. Well, man, Maggie, thank you so much for coming on here and discussing this controversial topic with us. You know, I really hope that people do their research, they know what they're getting if they decide to do it. And if you have any questions, reach out to any of us. We'll get you lined up in the right direction. We're here to help people reach their goals in whatever way possible and in the safest way possible as well. So don't be afraid to reach out with questions. And as always, thank you all for listening and let your health be the pivot point to your success.